Hey guys, welcome back to a new What If. Today we're doing What If Naruto Became Kaguya Part 1. And yeah, of course with a question mark, meaning that if you guys would like this to become a series, do tell me in the comments down below. And yeah, also if you want to know why I'm making this, stick around till the end of the What If, as I will tell you then if I remember. If not, then potentially in the comments down below or in the description. So yes, anyway, let's get into this. So when we had, Naruto start becoming Kaguya, well, I'd say, and well, not just when, but how would he? When, yeah, well, how, would be quite simple. He'd be it'd be an experiment. It'd be experimented on by Orochimaru. Well, less experimented on and more kind of just used just kind of as a well, like, nobody's gonna fight, if he dies and nobody's going to know how, like how and what from. So yeah. Why? Well, because he works hard, so, or at least it somehow found, a small piece of Kaguya's DNA, and obviously with Kaguya being obviously an Otsutsuki, she's pretty much, I think, immortal in a way. So pretty much the DNA could pretty much completely rebuild itself, and of course, yeah. And so, unfortunately, well, yeah, though fortunately for, yeah, and so of course Orochimaru had made it in, or at least had been able to make it into a couple of kind of like injections, and every injection he gave to his to a different test subject, they all had kind of had an explosive death. One had at least reported a sharp rise in chakra before exploding. One pretty much, yeah, they were all kind of somewhat different, and yeah, though he did end up, or at least kind of like, though after finally somewhat all those failures, he had 3 left. He gave one to someone who had low chakra reserves, like tiny civilian, and one that had kind of somewhat decently sized chakra reserves, so tuning to Jonin level, and the tuning to Jonin level did end up exploding from like a chakra overdose, like just too much chakra, and person that had too little died due to so much chakra that the network that the person's network couldn't handle it, and thus kind of also blew due to chakra, but this time due to a failure of the chakra network itself. And yeah, it kind of saw, as he really wanted to, know what this obviously DNA somewhat was, and that, and yeah. And though he'd kind of though he'd end up kind of like thinking, Kabuto had kind of sent back. Well, although Kabuto had kind of sent back that though he'd remember, the Cupid Shinchoki, the Nine-Tails Shinchoki, was of course somewhat had passed the Genin test, and was an official Genin, and that, well, if they were in the forest of death, if obviously if obviously Sasuke was, going to participate in the Chunin exams, and yeah, because then he could potentially give Sasuke the bite. Yeah, so he'd end up kind of going to kind of as the kind of like, or well, yeah, as his normal kind of disguise as you would in canon, and yeah, and so yeah, he would end up injecting Naruto during the somewhat, when he would end up kind of fighting somewhat Naruto in canon in the Forest of Death, though this time just as his fingers would light up to do the 5 elemental seal, he'd remember about the kind of his kind of DNA injection that he'd brought along to inject into the Nine-Tailed Shinjuku Naruto, because, well, surely the Nine-Tails wouldn't allow him to die, and if he did, well, nothing lost to him, and, it'd probably, annoy the Akatsuki, but, so what, they can wait 9 more freaking years, surely, so, yeah, and, yeah, so he'd instead whack Naruto, who was of course in the Nine-Tails chakra cloak, whacking him pretty far away as Naruto would fly through trees. Yeah, though it seemingly wouldn't even feel the pain, it would just be shot back, and yeah, Orochimaru knew that it was now or never to get Sasuke and then do Naruto. And so that's what he'd do. He'd end up biting Sasuke on the neck, which of course Sakura would end up yelling out for, Sasuke, and yeah, Sasuke would end up passing out, and Sakura would kind of catch him / hold him as she'd watch Orochimaru leave, thinking that that was it, and that they he'd leave them alone, when she'd remember that's the direction he'd shot Naruto in, and yeah, she'd kind of but she'd end up remembering Kakashi's words of, those who abandon the mission are scum, but those who abandon their comrades are worse than scum, and she'd groan as she'd kind of put Sasuke down, mumble a sorry. No, she wouldn't mumble, she'd pretty much straight up somewhat state sorry to him, and she'd run off after Orochimaru. Orochimaru would of course realise this and would know that she's not here, she's not running to attack him, she's running to potentially go get Naruto after he's done with him. Yeah, so at least the girl had somewhat of a mind on her to not challenge him. Anyway, though Naruto, of course, as in the QB mode, would end up charging right back at him, though this time Orochimaru would have the syringe out, and just as obviously Naruto was about to hit him, Orochimaru would just catch the boy quite easily, and then inject it straight into the boy's neck, into the vein, into one of his blood veins, and inject it on, before, and the kind of shock at that, though Naruto would seemingly just growl, and he would go, well, you didn't know, you didn't immediately pass out like the rest, well, I guess it's due to the fox. Well, I guess we can stop that for now. As he'd chop Naruto out the back of the neck, and his head would then, of course, go forward, passed out, and he'd then just drop him, and then proceed to jump away before moulding in with the ground itself, escaping, and Sakura would end up running. And even sending Chakra to her legs to, run as fast as she possibly can, and she'd end up just barely catching Naruto, though, though she, of course, would had seen, him inject something into Naruto, but not sure what, and yeah, she just hoped it wasn't poison or that, and yeah. So she'd end up kind of carrying Naruto back to Sasuke, and then somehow kind of whatever she did in canon would bring them both back to would take them to she had them in put them in canon in a hollowed out tree. Hours would go by as she would hear a growl. It was now kind of evening to night time. Yeah, though she'd kind of grab a kunai and kind of hold out slightly scared, and then she'd hear a groan. She'd then spin around, or snap her head towards Sasuke and Naruto, and to her relief, Naruto's eyes would somewhat flutter open, or at least would start to flutter open before they would snap open, and he would jerk straight upwards, having a kunai in his hand, and she'd immediately tell him to calm down, that he was safe now. He'd sigh, and yeah, then she'd realise that the growling she had earlier was seconds ago was Naruto's stomach, and yeah. She'd also know, her stomach was pretty much also not that far away from growling itself. And yeah, then she'd, Naruto would kind of ask where they were, and she'd just state that they were somewhere in the forest of death in a hollowed out tree. Naruto would just nod, and yeah, he would state he would then ask if she had any food, which she'd shake her head, and just somewhat nod as he'd go, well, how does some fish sound? She'd just stare at Naruto, and she'd go, what, it's late. Naruto would show, I'll just make a couple of shadow clones, and they can go, out and get it. If they pop, there's, if somebody tries to, ambush, or, ambush me or that, well, too bad for them. Sakura would be somewhat surprised, would somewhat nod at, would go, okay then, if you're going to use your shadow clones. Yeah, Kunai and Naruto would make a couple of shadow clones, and they would, of course, go into the forest and that, and would end up indeed bring back some fish, enough for the two of them. Sakura would ask why, or at least why there was only enough for the two of them, and you just point out that Sasuke was asleep. Those should ask if he tried waking him up, and Naruto would go, well, I've tried as much as whacking him over the head, and she'd just stare at Naruto and go, why did you hit him? Well, how else am I going to wake him up, Sakura? How else do you think I'm going to wake him up? Just yell his name? I'm pretty damn sure that if you don't wake up from a whack over your head, you probably are going to be a very, very bad shinobi. He'd just state, and Sakura would kind of begrudgingly agree with Naruto, as anyone would wake up from a whack over the head. You'd be confused, what the hell was that for? Yeah, it was just, yeah. And look, obviously, shinobi, that first thing would be, kunai, who the hell hit me, and what, who the hell hit me with, kunai out. Yeah. Well, yeah. And so, of course, as the night would go on by, after they would eat, they would end up talking about some stuff, though she would think about, potentially asking Naruto about yeah, sorry, about the black is red aura chakra thing, but she decided not to, as she didn't know why, but she just couldn't explain why. She just couldn't. It was odd. She kind of yeah. Anyway, no, it did seem like he potentially didn't quite remember properly, or remembered it at all. And yeah, those should obviously end up telling him that, or at least the person or that they were fighting had injected them with something, and yeah. And should state that it could be poison, and that would point out that he'd potentially be dead by now. Should agree with him, but would state that there were different types of poison. Not all poisons are designed to kill. Some are designed to numb the body, and some to even paralyze it for a specific amount of time, or even potentially permanently. Now, dude got past that, and yeah. Anyway, though, they would try talking for as long as possible to keep one another awake, but eventually Naruto would end up succumbing to sleep due to the odd fact that he felt a lot more tired than usual. Kind of understandable when, well, maybe not exactly understandable, but when you now have foreign DNA slowly overwriting your own kind of DNA, you probably are going to, feel quite tired as your body and yourself is being rewritten. Yeah. Anyway, though, yeah, from there though, he would, of course, next day, and the initial kind of, obviously, somewhat fight, somewhat fight would go down the same fight. Yeah, the fight being with, I don't remember the team. I know it's a sound team, but yeah, I don't think they had a name. But yeah, it was just a sound team that had, that obviously wanted, I think, to kill Sasuke. As Orochimaru had used them pretty much as fodder, or pretty much as, just, to see how powerful Sasuke was. With the question mark, if he woke up at all. And yeah, if he, of course, survived it as well. And yeah, though, of course, just as Sakura was about to, thinking about kind of hair, yeah, she'd, or at least just as I'd think about it, she'd thought, wow, what's the point of, waking Naruto up? It was clear he could sleep through a freaking, explosive tag. Yeah, though she'd say, though Rock Lee was, on the ground out, and yeah, she'd, try it. Sure, it may not work, and it probably wouldn't work, but worth a try. So she'd yell out Naruto's name. Naruto would almost immediately kind of groan hearing his name, and then, though it would only be a second, as his eyes would snap open, and his hand would go to his kunai. Another second later, and it said kunai would be in mid-air. Sakura would be completely completely dumbfounded at the sheer speed in which she had just witnessed from Naruto. Heck, it looked like he just, broke into Kage level speed for a split second. And yeah, the kunai would, of course, start to go through the air, and the person would end up, the red-headed woman would end up, I think it was redhead. I don't know why, I just remember there being a redhead, but I don't think there was. Anyway, though, the girl would end up letting go of Sakura, and yeah, though Naruto would obviously somewhat walk out pretty annoyed and angered, and yeah, though Sakura would somewhat look at him and feel scared, actually. Yeah, though Naruto would ask if she was alright, and she would just kind of nod, saying that should be okay. And the obviously three people would state that he was no match for, one more, wasn't going to do anything more. Naruto go, oh, well, how about a few hundred more multi-shadow clone jutsu? You'd state as a quite literal few hundred would appear. And yeah, of course, Team 10 and 9, or Team Asuma and Team Guy, the two remaining members of Team Guy and all of Team Asma would be dumbstruck at the sheer numbers of clones. They wouldn't realise that it was, solid clones, and though one person would, that person being Shikamaru. Of course, Smart did realise that Naruto said shadow clone, not clone. So there had to be a difference, and yeah, though he couldn't quite see a difference between normal clone and this shadow clone, though it quickly realised the difference, as a shadow clone would then, and of course the sounding wouldn't, think much of it, right, like this brat can, make, 200-300 shadow clones, yeah, right, Orochimaru can probably only make, like 20, 25, maybe 30 shadow clones on a good day. And yeah, so no way this brat can make, more than, Orochimaru. And yeah, and they'd all be solid clones. And yeah, of course Sakura wouldn't bat an eye, about the numbers of clones. It was just normal. It was Naruto. Whatever Naruto did was just Naruto. It was normal. Pretty much, if Naruto somehow, kind of learned how to summon, giant ass, like 60 foot tall, I don't know, like toad, fox, whatever, she wouldn't bat an eye. She'd just go, oh, okay. Yeah, she was just kind of, Team 7 had kind of gotten used to kind of just to expect the unexpected with Naruto. The point in which Sasuke had kind of started to kind of get angry by that, because, well, Naruto was always unpredictable, and thus his strength was growing at such a rate that he was starting to seemingly outpace Sasuke. Because, obviously Naruto would always kind of, look upon his old self when, he'd measure himself against his somewhat old self in strength. So he'd know, he'd always, reassure himself that he was getting stronger. Sasuke, on the other hand, never did that, and thus he felt like he was stationary, when in fact he was improving in strength. He was just improving at a rate that was potentially somewhat the same rate as Naruto, or a slower rate than Naruto. Thus the feeling of being stationary when someone, who's someone who just needed, a person to actually teach him properly. Anyway, from there, of course, the guy would end up kind of, handing over the summit scroll, and the three would kind of end up leaving pretty much battered, bruised, and bleeding. And the guy in which Sasuke broke both hands would end up having a single hand broken. But yeah, actually no, we'd have still both hands broken. Well, instead of dislocated, you'd have them broken instead, from just the sheer, army of clones and that. And yeah, anyway, though of course Team 10 would immediately decide to kind of not mess with Team 7. They were a lot, and yeah, they were a lot freaking stronger than they could ever imagine. So yeah, though of course, it'd state that she could obviously do mind transfer into Naruto, and Shikamaru shake his head, stating that, that if she wanted to potentially die, then sure, she'd go, what do you mean die? And you just point out that, he would just kind of groan and just say that there was no point in that, there were weaker teams there. They'd end up having a small argument, and eventually they would end up leaving. Though Team 9 would would of course come down, and yeah, Neji would turn to Naruto and ask, and would would demand him, how did he do that? Naruto would just stare at him and go, why should I tell you? Because I'm a Konoha nin. Naruto would just stare at him and go, so what? Yeah. Yeah, and Neji would somewhat growl, and Tenten would kind of remind him that, thereafter kind of very simply stare down, and Naruto going to put his hands together again, though Neji snored that no matter what he did, it would always just be kind of a somewhat failure or something like that, and yeah, Naruto would just be about to straight up call as many sound consequences as he possibly could, though Sakura would, for the first time, actually hug Naruto, telling him to just kind of calm down, and that it wasn't necessarily, she could feel, chakra building up, and she was no sensor. The reason why she could feel chakra building up is because she was watching the ground and seeing as it was starting to crack, telling her that Naruto was probably starting to build up a shite ton of chakra. And yeah, of course Neji wouldn't notice this, and neither would Tenten. They would never realise just how close they came to literally potentially meeting someone who they would potentially kind of name a god amongst men. And yeah, though they would end up leaving with Tenten obviously grabbing Rock Lee, and though sometime later Sasuke would end up waking up as his normal self, not his kind of slightly possessed self. And from there, canon would go the same up until Naruto's, the preliminary fight of Naruto. So Sakura would still draw against Sakura, and Ino would both pass out. Sasuke would of course win his, though Kakashi would take him to obviously have the cast still suppressed. And Naruto, of course, though, you'd come back, and Naruto would actually beat Kiba even faster and easier due to the fact he wouldn't have his chakra suppressed. Which, and from there, obviously, once more canon would go the same. Though the only difference being was that, of course, when Absu would start teaching Naruto the water walking, Naruto would actually make physical progress, and quite a lot, due to the fact he didn't have, the 5 elemental seal on the 8 trigram seal, which was messing up with the mixing of his chakra, of his and the Fox's chakra, which I don't believe is actually right. The 8 trigram seal suppresses the Fox, and the the trigram seal, the tetragram seal, the swirl, is the thing that mixes Naruto and the Fox's chakra together. What the 5 trigram seal believe is doing is messing up with the amount of chakra that is going into the seal, into the obviously 8 trigram seal, and thus the tetragram seal, because if there's less chakra and more Fox, or at least it's potentially messing up with the 8 trigrams, or the tetragram seal ability to actually kind of measure obviously Naruto's chakra. So as his chakra, as he uses up his chakra, obviously it uses less, it will use less of the Fox's chakra to keep the same amount of percentage of, kind of human to Fox chakra, Naruto to Fox's to the Nine Tails' chakra mix. And, yeah. Anyway, with that kind of explanation out of the way, yeah. Yeah. And of course, somewhat with that, Naruto adapts. Well, yeah, Naruto, or at least meeting with Dry, wouldn't it? Well, it would still happen the same day, it would just happen slightly differently. And in fact, it'd be happening due to the simple fact that Naruto and Ebisu would actually be leaving the hot springs due to the fact that they were only there so that, Naruto actually had a reason to get out of the freaking water because it was boiling hot. Well, it was not boiling, but it was very hot. And yeah, so yeah, well, yeah, you obviously anyway, yeah, and it'd be, well, yeah, they'd obviously somewhat talk for a bit, mainly Ebisu kind of Naruto asking what else he'd train him in. And yeah, Ebisu was kind of wondering, if literally Kakashi had zero idea that, he was literally had a freaking prodigy on his hands, like, I don't think he's a censor, I'm not sure, but I guess he'd have a decent idea of Naruto's reserves due to, his ability to easily make, shadow clones. Well, yeah. Yeah, though of course it would end up, they would end up hearing giggling and they would kind of turn around and after kind of walking, for a bit to try and find the, find out where the giggling is coming from, they would find Dryer peeping. Of course, Ebisu, would go straight up to him and, well, yeah, after kind of seemingly annoying Dryer would end up knocking him out. And thus Naruto would end up kind of, that the kind of the entire chase scene of Naruto hunting down Dry would begin. And yeah, and it would actually end a similar way with Naruto using the transformation. Well, yeah, his somewhat sexy jutsu to kind of get Jiraiya to finally agree to train him. Yeah, of course, Jiraiya's response would be as long as he'd stick like that, which Naruto would end up hallucinating, telling him that he was a giant pervert, and yeah, Jiraiya just sigh, but he would indeed actually train, well, kind of, well, though he did kind of begrudgingly. And yeah, anyway, from there, yeah, Jiraiya would ask what he was working on, and Naruto would state water working, and he'd go, well, I guess we can, I guess you can continue to work on that, and I'd go, well, I've kind of already got it down. I know. And he'd go, oh, I can't tell you here, come with me, brat. I am no brat. Yeah, Jiraiya would go, whatever. And yeah, from there, of course, Jiraiya would end up taking him to the same place in which he did in canon to tell Naruto about the 9 tails inside of him. Pretty much, hinting that the chakra, and Naruto would state that he kind of did know of a separate chakra, and yeah. Though Jiraiya would state, would tell him that, to kind of close his eyes and try and pull on it. Naruto would immediately tell him just straight up no. Joe would go, why? I don't want to use it, chakra. I want to get strong on my own. Damn it, brat. Yeah, damn it, brat. Just why? Just somewhat. Do you even know the potential? Somewhat. Do you have yeah. Do you know how much of how much something you're wasting if you don't use? And yeah, they'd end up arguing with somewhat Naruto kind of seemingly ending the somewhat argument with going, so, but then what happens if, one day I'm so reliant, well, yeah, your pretty much way is making me reliant on the damn Fox's chakra, and then what happens if one day I go up against an enemy who can fight me with the Fox's chakra, and then, next thing I know, they kind of somehow get rid of the fox, or, disable my ability to use its chakra, then, oh look, I'm dead. Huh. If I can't go stronger by myself, then what's the point of, Dry would kind of be so much shot, would kind of go wide-eyed. I didn't thought of that. He'd try and argue back about, that'd be kind of, impossible, but he couldn't open his mouth, or he could, but no sound would come out, and Naruto's point was 100% valid, he'd realise, but then again, so was his. And he would end up stating that still, and he'd agree, fine, yes, you're right, but so am I. You still, one day, there will be an anime that you'll potentially end up needing that chakra for, and just like as you said, okay, but if they're, a lot stronger than even so much, no matter how hard you train, they're still semi-stronger than you, and, they're coming for you, then you're going to have to use its chakra, and after it go, well, fine, then, and though you could, and you'd know that Naruto was still hesitant, and to be honest, he'd kind of think a bit more, and he'd realise that, use fight chakra probably wouldn't be the best way for Naruto to kind of actually graduate into, tuning, and so he'd go, do not find that. I won't start teaching you how to use its chakra, not today, not this week, not this month, but sometime after the tuning exams. Got that? Naruto had grown, but he would nod, saying that was somewhat fine. And Dry was somewhat relieved and slightly happy that anyway, though Dry would go, how do you know about your elemental do you know about your elemental nature? My Ali, what now? I guess it's actually called elemental affinity. Naruto just sort of stare at him, none of the wise, and Dry would would go, well, so have you ever have you gone outside the village yet? Naruto would nod once and go, that was probably just a C rank. Though Naruto would kind of say, no, it was an A. Dry would stop, and he'd kind of stare at Naruto. He'd go, can you say that again? It was. Naruto would kind of look at him straight and go, it was an A rank mission. He just stare now, and his immediate response would be, how the hell did you get an A rank mission? And I'd go, you see, as he'd explain to him the wave mission of the Boots building, and he'd go, damn, but I didn't realise you'd, saved, your only mission outside the village, and you end up saving the entire nation. Damn. You've got some freaking luck there for a first mission. That's for a first mission outside the village. Damn. Though it kind of he'd state that it was kind of a bit sad, as he should be further along in his training, and who's his sensei. After telling him who his sensei was and about his team, he'd realise and after kind of Naruto somewhat moaning about not being really trained and that no matter how much he asked for, Dry would kind of stop him and state there's two, that would kind of tell him that, he'd go, let's see, Naruto, there is asking and there is demanding, and there's two types of demanding. There is, teach me that, I demand you to teach me that right now. Or there's the more polite way of going, no, hey, can you teach me that please? You still demand, yeah, you know, kind of teach me that sensei, you know, yeah, you still, it may be somewhat in a nicer way, but you still are demanding them. The best way to someone ask is if they tell you, you know, hey, you know, I need to change chakra. Simply reply, well, are you going to teach me in chakra? You know, are you going to teach me in chakra or the team? Yeah, a simple remark like that will kind of, you know, go, oh right, I'm the sensei, I'm meant to teach them. Yeah, not to just go, I didn't know the droid kind of chakra and go, don't worry about that. I was just like that when I was younger, and droid simply end up telling them kind of how much and yeah. Now to kind of point out that they were kind of similar, which droid would kind of agree, and yeah. Though droid would tell him that he should also kind of somewhat to try. Yeah. Though Dry would ask him if he could do the basic clone jutsu, Naruto would shake his head, and Dry would go, well, that's one thing I want you to somewhat work on. Naruto would go, how? And he'd go, well, quite simple, chakra control, of course. And Naruto would just out, and he'd go, well, I want you to try and, you know, grab a kunai and, you know, stick it on your hand with the pointy end facing upwards, and I want you to send chakra into it to try and balance it, with your palm open. And yeah, once you can get that, try and stack one more on top of that. It will get, yeah, that will improve your chakra control. And, yeah, but also I would like you to kind of meditate. Not to groan, but that's boring. Try and go hit may be boring, but it is right. It will help you to kind of calm yourself down and to build a better connection with your chakra. That would kind of side by nod. Plus, I'm giving you this as an op. You don't have to, of course, do that, but I'm asking you to do it. Yeah, that would somewhat just nod, and yeah, though Dry would go though. I do want you to do one thing. That would kind of look at him. Well, and go, what's that? Well, I want you to transfer into your somewhat that female form you had. What pervert? And Dry sigh and go, as he'd go, fine, I'm a super pervert, but no. We'll be using that to help you in your chakra control. How will use my sexy jutsu to help me in chakra control? Quite simple, really, and it will actually help you in a few other aspects as well. Naruto would kind of stare at him and would kind of listen as Dry would continue and go, well, have you tried to stick 2 leaves onto your forehead? Naruto would shake his head and go, well, yeah, it'd be like that. You have to split your concentration. Yeah, because after all, if you're say using transformation, say you're, infiltrated a village or a, shinobi, an enemy hideout or that, and, there's a, couple other people there, and you somehow end up, kind of getting into a spar with one of them, and they all of a sudden hit you. Oh no, now all your focus is on, holding the transformation, and yeah, everyone would realise, you're now not paying attention, and they would get suspicious. So being able to split your concentration, so 1, to hold the transformation when you're obviously getting hit, and that 2, your surroundings, because only focusing on the enemy is pretty bad. You should always focus on your surroundings and the enemy in front of you. Know your surroundings, know your enemy. Yeah, now to kind of nod at that, and that's why I would like you to use your somewhat sexy jutsu as plus that will obviously somewhat help you with your chakra control, as you have to split it as well, as you'll have to split your chakra into 2 different ways. one, to mold it into, obviously, to continue to mold it into the sort of jutsu, so the jutsu can still, so the transformation can still work, and the second to be that walking up a tree, walking on water, sending, chakra to try and hold a kunai upright, or in a taijutsu, a purely only taijutsu spar with me. And I do plan on teaching you, of course, a lot more than that, but that'll be for right now. Yeah, Naruto would kind of be surprised, somewhat at that, and would begrudgingly go fine as he'd put his hands up and he would state, transform. After transforming, he'd try to see Naruto in his jutsu again, though he'd kind of grow and go, damn it, can't you put clothes on? Naruto would kind of go, oh, and also get rid of your whisker marks and change your eye colour and hair colour. Why? Well, because people know it's you. Obviously, you can't exactly infiltrate someone, infiltrate, a place with, whisker marks and, whisker marks, bright blue eye and bright yellow hair. Naruto go, oh, that's why it hasn't what. That's why oh, that's how people know it's me. And I just groan. Yeah, and you go and transform it in front of them doesn't help either. Yeah, Naruto just kind of sat there and looked like, yeah, I don't often transform into naked women in front of people. Yeah, anyway. And so from there, 2 weeks would go by. During those 2 weeks, they, of course, had indeed trained him into the ground with taijutsu, and they did, of course, end up finding that he was a wind affinity user, though. And, yeah. It stated that he has fire, wind, earth, and water, so, anyway, though, Dry would kind of look at that and go, well, because you remember that even though wind is your affinity, it doesn't mean that it's the only one you can, of course, do. That would nod, and yeah, so as Dry would go, well, of course, wind is generally good if you're going into Kenjutsu, the art of the sword, using swords. Oh, and yeah, and of course your fighting style, which is adaptation, would be better. You'd be able to probably end up somehow fitting in a sword. But yeah, and though that would, well, yeah, and after kind of Tandrai, who his opponent would be, Dry would end up kind of, as the best kind of thing would be, ironically, the Rasengan, but no matter, kind of how fast Naruto could learn it, he probably wouldn't really properly get it down in time. Yeah, plus he didn't think the guy could get, the jutsu down in 3 weeks by then, but he'd teach him it afterwards, as soon as possible after the during exams, if there was no real damage done to the village after the invasion, which he knew was coming. And yeah, anyway, though he'd end up, of course, teaching Naruto wind. Yeah, though at the moment Naruto would be sitting down in his bedroom. Yeah, it'd currently be night as it, and though his eyes would be shut as he was meditating, it was something he begrudgingly actually ended up doing. Since since Dry had kind of mentioned it, and yeah, and he had realised that he had felt somewhat slightly calmer, and he did it before bed because it would help him to go to sleep. And yeah, not only that, he could feel a slight better kind of connection with his chakra. And yeah, though it would end up his eyes were then fluttering open, as he'd think it was enough. Though he'd look round and he'd wonder, why am I here? Damn it! I was just in my bedroom. I was here. Well, he was where Naruto and Jiraiya had been training. Yeah, Jiraiya had, of course, thought about also. No, I'll say that after. Yeah, Naruto would kind of look around he'd go, so you're finally here, are you? He'd turn around and snap his head. So he'd go, who are you? Who am I? Well, I'm you, your evil self. And yeah, Naruto, and yeah, he would see himself, but the difference would be that would have red slitted eyes. And yeah, Naruto would remember about, or at least somewhat Jiraiya, somewhat explaining to, or at least him that of course, with the villagers, obviously somewhat, or at least giving him glass, he potentially, pushed it, or at least that part of him, the maybe small amount of, or at least amount of hatred for the villagers that he may have, deep down to a point where he could have made a, he could have made a split personality of himself purely based on revenge and pushed that even further down. And he'd realise he was now, against that part, and yeah, person would then start running towards him, looking like a fight. Naruto as he'd get closer and closer, just as they'd be, in somewhat, like you see yourself, go about to, look like to throw a punch, and yeah, Naruto would, let's catch it and to throw one himself, but he'd stop himself and he'd remember once more that Jiraiya said, well, if you ever meet your evil self, remember, it's all the hatred inside of it. If you meet hatred with hatred or fight, then you don't achieve nothing. Meet hatred with understanding. Try to understand. And yeah, acceptance is the best thing to defeat hatred. Accept it. Not push it away. As you fight, you push your hatred away. If you fight your hatred, your other self, seemingly, somehow, then you're just pushing away the hatred. Accept it. And instead, he'd let his evil self come closer and closer. And before long, just as he self would indeed hit him, Naruto would stay put, he'd rinse, and he'd manage, though he'd lunge forward and manage to catch his evil self off guard and bring him into a hug. And yeah, and a conversation with himself would go like in canon Naruto Shippuden, and where Naruto had faced off against his evil self for the second time, in which he ended up giving it a cuddle and kind of talking and making the same promise, and that if he somehow, pushed away his obviously somewhat anger, and that again, that he would just let it take over him, and yeah, and it would disappear, and his eyes would, his eyes would flutter open, finally flutter open, and he'd look around, he'd realise he was now in his bedroom, and he felt stronger, seemingly wholer, and he'd let out a yawn as he'd go, and he'd look at the time and he'd go, what the damn it, it's 12 o'clock, damn it, and he'd allow some curses before kind of going off to bed, as he was obviously already dressed for bed, as he used that as a way to calm himself down before getting into bed to better go off to sleep. So the next day he would meet up with Jiraiya in the training place, and yeah, tried to see that Naruto looked tired, and it'd go, well, Brad couldn't sleep well last night. Naruto would shake his head, saying that he kind of faced off against his evil self. Tried to kind of look at him and go, kind of give him the look and, and yeah. And Naruto would kind of tell him somewhat what happened and the interaction between them. Yeah. It just nodded and got, well, how do you feel now then? And kind of somewhat stronger and kind of, yeah. So I'd nod and it'd go, well, yeah, I guess that's kind of understandable. Naruto would go, it is. Yeah, he'd try to nod and go, well, yeah, it's like kind of light and darkness, yin and yang. Naruto just stare at him as trying to continue. As he'd go, well, without light there's no darkness, and without darkness there's no light. Without evil there is no good, and without good there is no evil. Yeah, the two balance themselves out. Yeah, as you draw the yin and yang, and you'd write down light and darkness. Yeah, and it'd go yin and yang, light and dark is also representative as of the good and evil, or oddly enough, spiritual and physical. Though we'd kind of gloss over that as, yeah, and yeah, you'd go, and yeah, though you'd go, do you know why there's two circles, or at least those two circles that in the white it says black and in the black it says white? Might would shake his head and go, well, it's because within, yeah, because light can become dark and dark can become light. Good can become evil and evil can become good. Naruto kind of nod. Obviously, you'd know that firsthand via, what's his name? Zabuza, the Land Waves Misen, and Zabuza Momochi, the demon of the hidden mist, and how he went from, being that enemy, evil, to, working somewhat alongside him and realizing, how important Haku was kind of to him, and yeah, becoming good in the end, and yeah. Anyway, and yeah. And after that kind of somewhat explanation, after kind of realizing, yeah, I would tell him to kind of try, the balancing thing. Yeah, he'd try as he'd, failed the past couple of times, and to his surprise, he'd be able to do it. He'd be able to stack one, he'd try again, and he'd have two kunai stacked upon one another. Try to go out, try and stack a third one, he'd try and he'd yeah, he wouldn't be able to stick that one, and yeah, Dry would go, well, damn that. I guess that also makes sense as, as your chakra now is kind of truly balanced. Yeah, that would just somewhat nod, and yeah. Yeah, from there, they would then go to somewhat train as though, they tried to actually go, wow, today I plan on teaching you a jutsu, though this jutsu won't really be useful in the tuning exams, but it will be useful, depending on the situation, its usefulness will vary. Naruto would kind of crack an eyebrow and, would be kind of curious, and yeah. And of course, it would be the summoning jutsu as Dry would end up giving the Naruto the summoning contract. So, just before that, he would end up telling Naruto to, try, a clone to see just how, how far away he was to potentially making a clone. Yeah. Yeah, Naruto tried to do so, and to his surprise, it wouldn't look dead. It wouldn't look like just a blob of white. It instead looked like a very pale, and it looked pale, but it was standing up, a massive improvement. Yeah, though Giant stated that he was coming closer to being able to do it, though Naruto would ask why being able to do it was kind of important. Giant would go, right, I never really told you. Well, it means you'll be able to use Genjutsu, and Naruto would ask why that was important, and after explaining why Genjutsu, or at least potentially why Genjutsu was somewhat important and how powerful Genjutsu could possibly be, Naruto would obviously want to train in it, though Jiraiya would point out that until he could, make a single, obviously, clone, Genjutsu would be out of his reach. Naruto would just know that and would obviously kind of train even harder in chakra control. Another thing, just to say is that Naruto wouldn't just train in this kind of, sexy jutsu self. Granted, he spent more time, well, he didn't really spend more time in that, he actually spent equal amount of time in both. The reason why is that if Jiraiya sparred an hour against female Naruto, then he spent an hour with Naruto. The reason why is because obviously his Naruto's female self now somewhat altered to kind of ironically have red hair. Yeah, Naruto went from kind of blonde hair, yellow to red. When Jiraiya kind of asked him why, as he was kind of seeing Kushina, Naruto simply shrugged, stating that he didn't know why and that it just felt right. And though Naruto went with kind of like almost whitish, palish eyes, and anyway, and of course no visceral marks, so he didn't actually look like himself, and he did change his female self, his voice, chest size, and a bit else, so he didn't exactly look like his obviously sexy jutsu self, but hey. Anyway, though he was finding himself more comfortable in this form, and kind of that was somewhat good. And anyway, so if he spent an hour, fighting Jiraiya, in his female self, tried, spar Naruto in his normal form, because Naruto could potentially kind of get used to his female self, which was a height of 5'5", and obviously with breasts meant he had to fight slightly differently, and if he got used to fighting at a height was 5'5", thus longer arms and obviously taller, well being obviously smaller, it'd be awkward to say the least. And so you spent equal amount of time both to make sure that Naruto wouldn't get that, wouldn't have that issue. And with that, guys, I am going to end this part here. So though for those who do want to know why am I doing this, well, it's because the channel is actually, growth has stagnated, and it's curious, well, what do you mean you're at 1.64k subscribers, or 1,640 subs? Well, if you use comment, but I can, and that is that 2 or 3 weeks ago I also hit 1,640 subscribers. So the channel's kind of stagnated in its growth, so I'm doing this. And also Friday should be what if Naruto became a prostitute, part 14. Anyway, guys, hope you guys have enjoyed this part, and of course do tell me if you want this to become a series in the comments down below. And guys, hope you guys have a good day or night, depending on wherever you are and whenever you watch this, and good bye.